Red-footed tortoises like eating a lot of fruit, pooping wherever they want, and long walks through the rainforest. Or at least they would if it wasn't all being destroyed. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Hello and welcome back to our channel. Thank you for joining us. So unlike my first few videos where we talked about 5 different animals, either from where they're from or what they do and stuff like that, with these animal spotlight videos, which are probably going to be our longest running series on YouTube because I have 70 plus animals to get through, so I have a lot of animals to talk about. But what these animal spotlight videos are going to do is we're going to take one animal and we're going to kind of deep dive into that animal. So we're going to talk about where it's from, we're going to talk about what it eats, we're going to talk about what eats it, we're going to talk about how it survives and avoids getting eaten, things like that. And for this first video, we're going to talk about the red-footed tortoise. So for the red-footed tortoise, or Chilonoidus carbonarius, we're going to break it down. So it belongs in the kingdom Animalia, belongs in the phylum Chordata, which means it has a spine. It belongs in the class Reptilia, which means it is a reptile. It is in the order Testudines, because it is a turtle. And it is in the family Testudinidae, because it is a tortoise. And finally, they are in the genus Chilonoidus. They're a group of tortoises from the Galapagos in South America that apparently floated across the Atlantic back in the Oligocene. And this includes these guys. It includes the very close cousins, the yellowfoot tortoises, and a few other species. So this is Rosie, our red-footed tortoise. I've had her for about 5 years now. She's about 15, 16 years old. And red-footed tortoises are fairly easy to identify. They have this dark, dark shell. It is a rounded shell. I mean, she has a little bit of pyramiding, so it's not quite round. But it's also somewhat elongated. It kind of looks almost like, I don't know, a weird loaf of bread. And they have these light spots in the middle of each scute. And a scute is just a scale that goes over each bone of the shell. Now, they get their name from these bright red scales they have here on the front limbs. And they have some on the back feet as well, and also the tail. Redfoot tortoises typically have yellow coloration on the head. There are some called cherry head tortoises, which have the bright rosy head, kind of like Darth Maul. They're just red-footed tortoises, just a different locality. So red-footed tortoises typically grow 18 to 24 inches long, and they can get anywhere up to 25 pounds. Now, Rosie's obviously on the smaller end. She only weighs about 6 pounds, so she could be 4 times this size. Also, males do grow bigger than females, and you can sex them by the length of the tail, how the shell is around the tail, the concavity of the plastron, if there's pinching on the sides. And redfoot tortoises can live anywhere from 30, 40, 50 years in the wild. Now in captivity, they'll live a lot longer than that, but remember, we're not going to be talking really about captive care for these guys. Now they're native to northern South America, east of the Andes from northern Argentina, Paraguay, Bolivia, along the southern edge up through Brazil to Colombia, Guyana, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru. Now they're also found on some Caribbean islands, but they were introduced in the 17th century as a food source for explorers. Now in the redfoot's home range, it never really drops below the high 60s and it rarely goes above the high 80s. So it's a nice temperature year round. And there's a lot of rainfall. So, I mean, year round, it's usually got a really high humidity rate. Now within this huge range, their population densities vary wildly. I mean, you could go to some areas and have really, really dense tortoise populations, but you could go to other parts, kind of like central Brazil, and never see a tortoise. Because of this wide range and all the various habitats they can live on, there's actually 5 different regional variants that can be DNA recognized. So the sort of default popular one we get here in captivity is the northeastern variant. The eastern variant is actually what the cherry head tortoise is. Now across their range, they're found in various biomes, including tropical savanna grasslands, rainforests, dry forests, temperate forests, transitional forest clearings, lots of forests. Now they'll reach sexual maturity about 5-6 years of age, and their incubation period ranges from 100 to 200 days. Again, this also varies widely by region. So mom will dig up a nest and she'll try her best to cover it up because she's not going to look after the kids. She'll lay about 5 to 15 eggs and she tries to hide it as best she can because there are a ton of predators in South America that love to eat tortoise babies. Now, as far as behavior goes, they are widely inactive during the day. They tend to come out most crepuscularly, which is dawn and dusk. They'll hide out in fallen trees, hollow logs, abandoned armadillo and agouti burrows. They'll also commune in these burrows in huge numbers. They'll really just pack in tortoise on tortoise on tortoise to avoid predators, to avoid the heat of the midday. Now, they have other kind of weird semi-social behaviors, which is pretty uncommon with most tortoise species. They'll have giant communal feedings with almost no aggression. Males won't fight each other or anything. If a bunch of fruit falls on the ground, everyone's pigging out, not really worried about fighting. They also don't really keep clear boundaries for territories. They don't really have marked territories where if two males kind of intersect, they'll start really fighting. They're also found to move in small groups or pairs following scent trails from other tortoises. So diet. Now these guys are omnivores. Now most tortoises are typically herbivores, but red-footed tortoises eat a little bit of that animal protein. Now they eat a lot of plants, mostly fruits, some veggies, grasses, flowers, fungi like mushrooms. Invertebrates can be things like snails, termites, ants, beetles. They have been found to eat vertebrates, so like little pinky fuzzy mice. They'll eat little snakes, and then they'll also eat carrion, which is dead stuff. Redfoot tortoises have just been found in huge numbers at carcasses before, just consuming as much meat as they can, kind of like me on Thanksgiving. Now their diet is also seasonally based because different things are available at different times of the year, and it's also regional based. So if you have a tortoise that lives typically in grasslands, they might not eat as much fruit as one, say, in the rainforest. Many omnivorous tortoise species, like this one, have smaller and lower intestines that are roughly the same length, whereas herbivorous tortoise species, like sulcatas, have much longer, large intestines to help with all the grass they eat. So, predators. Now, when these little dudes are small, they can be eaten by a whole bunch of different things. Predatory birds, coatis, tegus. Actually, tegus love little redfoot tortoises. Introduced mongooses and rats. But when you have a tortoise that gets 18 to 24 inches long, 25 pounds, there's only one animal besides people that can take that down, and that is the king of the Amazon rainforest, the jaguar. Jaguars have insanely strong bites, and they can actually slowly crack open this shell with enough biting. Now, they have actually found surviving tortoises with huge scratch and claw marks and everything on their carapace from where a jaguar try as it could, was clawing and trying to get the tortoise out of the burrow, but it just couldn't, and the tortoise walked away. So unfortunately, this species is listed as vulnerable by CITES, which actually blocks international trade because they don't want any more tortoises being taken out of the wild than there already have been. But this means that plenty of people still will smuggle them out illegally, despite them actually being really easy to be bred in captivity. If you look down south, there are a whole bunch of tortoise breeders that breed redfoot tortoises. It is very easy to find a captive bred redfoot tortoise baby. But these tortoises are most likely not being smuggled for the pet trade. It is for food. In most of their range, they are found as a food source. Also, during Lent, the church says that tortoise meat is okay. As far as smuggling animals go, this species is on the easier end because they can go a long time without food. So it's very easy for smugglers to box up a bunch of them and ship them across the world without having to worry about them really getting sick or starving or anything like that. The shells are also sometimes sold as tourist souvenirs. And then habitat loss and fragmentation is a huge problem for just about all South American species. So when the redfoots eat fruit, they'll eat everything. They'll eat the seeds even. And the seeds will just pass right through their digestive system. And it'll actually germinate in the poop, when they poop it out, of course. And that actually plays a big role in seed dispersal. Now, redfoots also have a tendency to eat larger animals' poop, like foxes and coatis, for that little protein boost, which explains because when I put all my tortoises outside, all the other tortoises will start eating grass, but she zeroes in on whatever dog poop is in the area, and she just mouths down on it before I catch her. Now, like I said earlier, when tortoises find a carcass or a lot of fruit, they'll just absolutely gorge themselves on it. So when a tortoise eats that much, they'll just have to sit still for days. And they've actually found leaf litter just completely piling up on them. They've actually found termites begin to build nests and mounds over the tortoise before it starts moving again. And then not much of an educational fact, but in Brazil, they are known as jabuti. So that was our spotlight video on the red-footed tortoise. Thank you, Rosie, for participating. Thank you guys for tuning in. Leave a like if you liked the video. And if you want to help me decide what to do the next animal spotlight video on, comment below which of the 70 animals that we have that you would like to see next. Make sure you subscribe to our channel if you want to watch more of our upcoming animal videos. And thank you folks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. and the mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex hunts the innocent little goat and chomp. Red-footed tortoises like eating a lot of poop. No. Well, they do eat a lot of poop. Now, red-foot tortoises typically have yellow coloration on the head. Is in the order Testudines because Testudinus, and it is in the order and it is in the family Testudinidae. Testudinidae. It is in the order Testudines. No. It is in the order Testudinidae. It is in the order Testudinides.
That's right, he can be taught.
And in the family Testudinidae. All right, I'm gonna botch this. Can you climb my hand? No, you gave up. You're just gonna sit on my hand? Thank you folks for tuning in, and I'll catch you later.